Hey everyone, I'm Claire. I'm the writer for Talented Liar Loki on Tumblr, and this is my official shout out video. It was meant to be made probably like 6 months ago, and I never got around to it because I'm awful, but I'm getting around to it now. I'm putting off school because I want to talk to all of you guys. I have 1,634 followers on Tumblr, and that is about 1,634 followers more than I thought I would ever have. So thank you all for following. It means so much to me. I don't know where I would be without writing and without my Tumblr account, without all of you guys, and you're just so sweet and so just absolutely kind-hearted and wonderful people, and you put up with me and my bad moods when they manage to surface, and I'm online, and you put up with my derpy writing, because it is derpy writing. You don't have to bullshit me. So I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am. I asked for questions, and so I'm actually just going to dive into those, or else I'm just going to like spew love all over you guys, and that's going to come later. So let's get to the questions. I'm so sorry if I slaughter usernames, because some of them are just so weird, and I'm not that smart. I'm kind of smart, but I'm not that smart. So if I can't pronounce it, I'm going to spell it out, and even if I like misspell it, or if it should be something so easy and I'm just retarded and don't get it, feel free to prod me and laugh at me, because you should know that I'm probably laughing at me. So the first question is from an anonymous asker who asked, how sexually active does Loki ever get? And if you spend like 1.5 seconds on my blog, you would probably figure out that Loki is very sexually active. He's pretty much always taking his pants off and things like that. He is in a very committed relationship to Tony Stark, and that should say enough. He is the god of mischief and things of that nature, and a billionaire genius philanthropist, said that in the wrong order, probably is the only person on Earth who could possibly keep up with Loki's sex drive. So that should answer that question. How sexually active does Loki ever get? Extremely, invariably, undeniably, mercilessly sexually active. This second question is from another anonymous asker. What is the most believable headcanon that I have about Loki? I don't even know all of my headcanons. Probably the one about him not sleeping during thunderstorms when he's on Earth, strictly because that's the one that's on my mind right now, because of a few storylines that I am plotting currently, because I don't see how he could possibly have a good night's sleep with just Thor kind of in the back of his mind, not in a threatened kind of way, but in a equally pained kind of way, kind of a poignant sense. In the back of his mind, thinking about his past and his family and lack thereof. So I think that's the most believable headcanon I have about him. The third question, these aren't in any order. I copied them all and pasted them into a little Word document that I have open on this side of the screen. So I'm just talking, and they're not like in favorite to least favorite by any means. They're just in like random order. The third question is from Win in the TARDIS, who writes Winter. The mon's name is Care, who I always have to ask what her name is, because I'm awful, and I'm always wondering if it's my name, if we share a name, because I, for some reason, think that it's the same, and Jess always has to correct me because she's wonderful. So Win in the TARDIS, who writes an OC named Winter, who's the most wonderful thing on Earth, and we'll get to that later. She asks, I would like to be adored. Well, I'm gonna adore you later. And she has a question, does Loki shine through in my personality sometimes? Nothing illegal, obviously. I don't go about making people kneel and things of that nature, though I could, I bet. I would if I could get away with it. I'm willing to bet. There was one incident, I think it was over fall break, or maybe it was in the summer, and I was pissed off, and I switched. My mom had woken me up at like 6 a.m. for no reason. It was my day off, and it was in the middle of the blistering summer heat, and I was asleep, and she woke me up for no reason at like 6. And she was making a cake that day, and I switched the sugar out and put salt in the sugar container. So she put salt into a cake instead of sugar. Oh, she didn't know what happened, and I didn't either. That was bizarre. So I mean, I guess Loki shines through my personality sometimes. Next 2 questions are from the same writer. Her name's Gabby. She writes for The Littlest Blonde, a character who goes by the same name. If Mun's name is different than the character's name, I don't know it, because your name is Gabby on Skype, and that's what I base my assumptions off of. What is probably awful, but if that's not your name, I sincerely apologize. I can't, I don't know, you deserve more than an apology, but that's all I can do for now. She asked if she could be in the shout-out video, so yes, you're in the shout-out video. And then she asked a question last night when I was going to try and do this, but it didn't work out. She asks, why am I so amazing? I'm not, so easy answer. And what's my favorite part of Storky? Storky is my RP partner's equivalent of the Frost Iron ship, a combination of Stark and Loki, Storky. I always think of a stork. To this day, when I first said Storky, I was like, oh, a stork, and even to this day, I always think of a bird. My favorite part of Storky is probably maybe their commitment to each other once they realize that they do in fact need each other. In the beginning stages of every Storky relationship or Frost Iron ship or whatever, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's always the snark and the sass and the battling egos, which is actually one of the more beautiful things about the ship. That is so entertaining at first, but once they realize that they're not that different, it becomes something more beautiful and something more touching, and that's probably one of my favorite parts about the ship. I keep gazing off, and I just don't like looking at me. So, yeah, I would probably say their dedication to each other is one of my favorite parts of the ship. Gabby also says, hi Claire, in all caps. Hi Gabby, in all caps, right back at you. Next question is from another anonymous asker. It's more of a demand, actually. Tell everyone Loki's kinks in the video. He has this really weird kink that I don't know how these things develop, because by no means do they reflect on me, and I hope I'm making that perfectly clear for the most part, that, like, Loki and I aren't the same person at all. There was one thread with Tony, and Tony pulled his hair, and it was the most visceral response that I had ever even experienced, and I was like, okay, well, I guess my muse has a kink for having his hair pulled, and it's stuck since then. He's recently developed a kink for foreign languages. Tony spoke to him in Italian recently, and that just set him off. He saw, I think it was in a Stucky thread, in a Bucky Steve Rogers thread, he saw Bucky speaking Romanian to Steve, and I think that's also kind of where it started. It's like, oh, like Midgardian language or whatever. I think he totally was turned on by that in various ways. So those are just 2. He likes being pampered, obviously. I think he likes being dominated a little bit. He would never admit it, though. And he also likes to dominate, obviously. He likes submission, one of his most favorite things. I think everyone knew that, though. Like, it's not that original, so. Next question is from the new Master of Gallifrey, which is Diggy, who also writes for Ask Siler, Mischievous God of Love, an Eros account. She pronounced it Eros in her video, I think, and that blew my mind. She has more accounts. She has of Drugs and Deductions, which is her Sherlock account. She has so many accounts. I'm pretty sure she has a Moriarty account, and I can't remember the username right now, but I bet it's great. She's one of the most talented writers I've ever seen on Tumblr, but I'm not getting into that now. I'm going to answer your question. What made me choose Loki? She's not the only one that asked that. I think a few others did also, so I'm just going to answer it now, and if it comes up again, I'm just going to skip it. What made me choose Loki is it wasn't really a choice, it was kind of mutual. We kind of chose each other. When I made this video last night, I talked about it, and I think I'm just going to reiterate what I said then. When I was in, I think, let's see, it must have been when I was in high school. It must have been either my junior or senior year, when Thor came out in theaters. I'd seen the Iron Man movies, but I didn't know, like, when I saw Mjolnir at the end of Iron Man 2, I had no idea what that was, only because one of my friends was like, that's Thor. Did I know that that was Thor? So when Thor came out, I was, like, kind of excited to see it, just because it's Marvel, and, like, why wouldn't I be excited? I didn't know who Chris Hemsworth was. I didn't know who Tom Hiddleston was. I didn't know who any of the actors were, so I really only knew, Eric Selvig's actor, Stellan Skarsgård, and I really only knew Natalie Portman in terms of that movie, so by no means was I a fan. But I went and saw it with a bunch of my friends at the midnight showing, whatever, and we're sitting in the theater, and I remember Loki being on screen with Odin in the weapons vault when he says that I'm the monster parents tell their children about at night, and I remember sitting in the theater and just wondering, like, what does that even mean? And being just completely blown away by that line and his dialogue in that entire scene, and plus the acting was phenomenal, and that's the beginning of my Hiddleston craze. I think that's what really stuck out to me, because it was during a dark time in my life, and to see someone else in such a downward spiral kind of made me feel better about me. So I had my friend, who is the biggest Marvel nerd I know, give me all of his comics, and I read them, but maybe not as thoroughly as I should have. I really only wanted to know about Loki. Like, I only studied Loki. I read online. I watched the movie more than once. I did the mythology, got everything I needed to know, and I learned more and more. And the more I learned, I got more and more fascinated with him. So I think I chose Loki because it was kind of a mutual understanding, but at the same time it wasn't. I mean, maybe it shouldn't have been. It's kind of hard to explain. It just happened to be at a time in my life when I was watching that movie that I empathized with this particular character. If I hadn't been in the psychological state in which I'd been during that time, maybe I wouldn't even be here right now. So thank God for depression. Not really, I didn't mean that. I guess I think we just chose each other, because there are other, I try to make other RP accounts. I've tried various others. I've tried a Sherlock account, didn't work. I have a Moriarty account right now, doesn't work. I have a Clint Barton account right now, but he's nesting somewhere. I think it was just Loki, and it was just made to be. So, okay, next question is another anonymous question. This anonymous wanted to ask Loki what he does for fun while I'm in class. He pokes fun in the back of my mind. He makes sex jokes. He points out the most mischievous things that can be done in any particular classroom. So we're in, for example, anatomy lab, and we're working with cadavers, and he's in the back of my mind thinking, throw a kidney at someone, and I'm like, okay, no, please get back in your cat carrier, like shoo, and things of that nature. So while I'm in class, he's there with me. Don't think he's not. No babysitter will take him under their wing. So he's with me, and he's being a pest during class, no doubt about it. Next question is from When Sebastian Pulls the Trigger, and she asks, did your muse come to you, or did I choose them? Like I said, it was pretty mutual, but additionally, and like reiterating what I said, if it hadn't been Loki, it could have been someone else. So I think, yeah, we did like choose each other. Okay, I have 3 questions from A Cruel Salvation, the Mun's name is Kate. She writes for John Doe, a Romanian assassin, whose FC is Sebastian Stan. It's pretty phenomenal stuff over on that blog, so please stop by sometime. To any of you that I haven't loved on yet, don't worry, I have all of your usernames at the bottom of this Word document, and I'm going to make another video strictly for love if this one doesn't end up too long. She left 3 questions, 1 when I was going to make this video like a few months ago, and 2 yesterday and today. So her first one is, what does Loki love most about Tony? And I would have to say it would be Tony's patience, but at the same time it would be Tony's lack of patience. Tony, I mean, he's reasonably understanding in some aspects, and in other aspects he's not going to put up with Loki's shit, and I think that's kind of noble of him, and I think Loki sees that at times. Other times he's like, he gets pissed off, and his regality shows through, and his ego bursts, and he gets angry and pouts and things. But I think when it counts, and Tony plants his heels in the ground, crosses his arms, and sticks out his chest, and tells Loki that it is what it is, I think Loki actually really respects that. What's my favorite thing about Loki? Probably his eloquence, no doubt. I wish I could be as loquacious as he is. What's my favorite thing about Tony? Definitely his sass, definitely his snark, his just how absolutely intelligently witty he is. It's not dumb humor by any means. He's incredibly smart about his sharp tongue. My favorite thing about Frost Iron as a ship is probably the chemistry between the two of them, how much they are so similar, but at the same time it varies so undeniably in some aspects. Similar in more than just their parentage and their regard for themselves as human beings and gods in Loki's sense, but how they regard each other also. It's very dynamic at times, and on our Storky ship it's fluffy mostly. It won't be. We've got horrible plans coming, but I think I really love the dynamic and all the different places this ship can go, this ship can sail, because it really is just boundless. And then my favorite band, book, color, and food, and I don't know if this is in character out of character, but I can tell you my and Loki's music taste is eerily similar, strictly because I won't let him have a different music taste because he'll drive me insane. So our favorite bands, we'll say bands, are Radiohead, Mumford & Sons, and Black Keys right now. Our favorite book, his favorite book is The Great Gatsby. He's said it before, F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. My favorite book is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. My favorite color is gray. His favorite color is green, obviously. His favorite food is Nutella, and my favorite food would have to be probably guacamole right now. I have a sick and awful addiction to avocados currently. I would feel bad, but I don't. Kate's final question is, what are Loki's thoughts on John, her muse, John Doe? Well, he looks like Bucky, so when they first met, Loki was like, oh good, another Bucky, like, this is fucking awesome. I swear a lot, so if any of you are against that, you might as well shut this off now, because the more excited I get, the more I swear, so sorry about it. Yeah, so he was a little deterred by the fact that he looked like Bucky, but I mean, John didn't lash out at him. He didn't come out and make any assumptions about who or what he was. Whereas Loki actually assumed he was a magician straight off the bat, and John laughed about it, so I think that was kind of an indication to Loki that he was maybe not easygoing, but that he maybe not slow to anger, but that he would had at least a sense of humor. Like Loki knew nothing about him and made that assumption because he was being a smartass that day, and it just happened to work out in his favor. They've talked a little bit more lately, but not much. I can't tell what's gonna happen between them. I really hope for a friendship because Loki needs more friends. I, as a Mun, think this, and he, as a Muse, doesn't agree. But I personally think John Doe's a brilliant character. I don't know much about him. I only know as much as I've read on Kate's page and things like her threads. I've read a little bit of her threads, a little bit meaning like a lot. I keep her page open usually. So I mean, I'm eager to learn more and to let Loki learn more. So that'll be fun. The Golden Iron Avenger, who is my RP partner, my main squeeze on Tumblr. She plays my Loki's Tony. She has a question. She asks for Loki nudes. I don't have any of them. I sold them already. Gotta have money to get through school, so I'm sorry to let you down. I will make up this lack of pornography in corn dogs and Hershey's and Pepsi. So there you go. Oh, she wanted me to say aluminum because it's aluminum. Candy, cart, sneakers, pants, and it's not aluminium. Trolley, trainers, or sweets, because we argue, or we don't really argue, but we compare cultural differences because she is from England and I am from America, as evidenced by my vulgarity and things of that nature. Next question is from Monty, who is the Mun for Cry a Mockingbird. She asks, how long have I been RPing? Do you remember your first Muse, or was it Loki? And then she asks Loki, how annoyed do you get with your Mun, or do you and she get along well? And her final question in all caps, will Thor and Loki ever be bestest bros again? And what's my favorite tea? How long have I been RPing, first and foremost? I have been RPing for less than a year. To answer the second question, my first Muse was in fact Loki on Tumblr. Tumblr is my first RPing forum. I never tried, is it pronounced Omegle? I never tried that. Maybe because I don't deal well with strangers. Stranger danger, or whatever. So I've been RPing on Tumblr as Loki, only Loki, primarily, for less than a year. It'll be a year, I think, in January. Loki, how annoyed does he get with me as a Mun? He gets very annoyed with me as a Mun because I put him through a lot of shit, almost constantly. I'm very, very devout to school, as most of my RP partners know, and it gets at me sometimes. It really gets under my skin, and it gets the best of me very, very often, and I think Loki suffers, and I think he makes me suffer as a consequence. So, in addition to that, I put him through some very awful plots. We have awful plots coming up, and he has been pouting in the back of my mind for a few weeks since Jess and I first came up with these ideas. So, yeah, we don't get along very often. When we do get along, it's a beautiful thing, but it doesn't happen very often. Once in a blue moon, I'd say. Will Thor and Loki ever be bestest bros again? Yes, they will, absolutely. I'll make sure it happens. I will make sure the dear sweet Snowflake pulls his head out of his ass, and he's gonna have some serious emotions with Thor soon. Probably about, I actually don't know if it'll be about any that plot. I can't tell you about the plot yet because I don't want to ruin it, and I don't know if Jess wants me to tell. So I'm just gonna say, like, the big plot that's coming up. They might have feels over that, or they might not. And what's my favorite tea? Probably peach tea, because I'm from Georgia at heart, apparently. Or green tea. Green tea's really good too. Chip, who is the writer for Makarov's, who is Loki's Natasha, and only Loki's Natasha, he doesn't share. She asks, tell me your top 3 favorite Storky moments, events, threads, and feels about each. I don't know, that's tough. There've been a lot. Probably there. Okay, there was a moment when Tony was drunk, and someone's in my apartment. I keep getting quiet. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, Tony was drunk, and Loki put him in bed, and it was cute, and it was really fluffy, and Tony was like wiggling around in bed, and Loki told him to stop wiggling. That's stuck with me and my RP partners until now. God, this is hard because there have been so many. Probably after the twins' birth, when Loki found out Amy, his daughter, was a frost giant, and he got upset and left and killed people. It really affected Tony, and that subsequently led to the third moment when Tony snapped at Loki and hurt his feelings, made him cry. I think that those are the three. They shouldn't be my favorite moments because they hurt, but that's probably why they are, because I like writing hurtful things. Yep, those are probably the three. I didn't get into the feels very much because I get excited, and there were a lot of feels in that. The third one about Tony snapping was because we were discussing how Tony had never apologized to Loki, because Loki had done some things and he'd apologized for him, and then Tony had done various other things and never apologized for him, and so that was where that came from. So we got Tony to kind of hold some emotions and get pent up and snap, and that was to bring out an apology from the egotistical maniac. Her second question is to give her some favorite non-storky ships and a brief description of your feels for each. Okay, I will give 3 non-storky ships and my brief feels for each. Loki and Natasha, and I blame Makarov's writer Chip for making me ship this because I did not ship it before talking to her. Brief feels. I think it's because they're both so dangerous, and both could easily kill the other. Maybe not easily, but both could and would, I think, and I think that's what makes it so awesome, is because, I don't know, they're just so willing to engage in this game of cat and mouse instead of just like snapping the other's neck and walking away. Admittedly, Loki would be exceedingly upset if anything happened to Natasha, and I think he's angry in the back of my mind already at the idea of anything happening to Natasha. So I think that says a lot in terms of my muse and her muse, what has transpired between them. They've certainly grown since their first interactions. Admittedly, Loki was looking for weak points when they were first talking, but they've really grown since then. A second non-storky ship that I adore is Stucky, Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes. It's grown on me, and I was a Stony shipper before, and now I can't even look at Stony because Stucky is so amazingly implanted in my brain. I think it's the dynamic between the two, where you would see Steve Rogers as being not gentle, but you know, my eloquence has left me. I'm not sure. Ideal, not really ideal. Idealistic, maybe, yeah. And Bucky is I don't know much about Bucky Barnes, but as I understand it, he's kind of dark and burdened in more ways than one, based on his past and the Winter Soldier, and I think their comparisons is just awesome. So that's another ship that has grown on me since then, and a third, it would have to be Clint, Natasha, I guess, just because of the Avengers and how awesome they were in that, and I can't really get into feels because I mean, I don't know, just because I mean they were awesome in the Avengers, so that's a third ship. Tell me about my relationship with Loki as a muse. He's a pain in my Asgardian soul. It's as good as it's gonna get. I can't even, most of the time. She also wants me to declare love because everyone needs to know that I love them. I will get to it in my second video. Don't even worry. And the next question is from Never Just a Myth, who is written by Trish. That's Bucky Barnes, who is the one half of the Stucky ship, which I am obsessed with. The other half is Steve Rogers, who is written by Shona, who is Captain Out of Time. I'm listening to my roommates laugh. She writes Captain Out of Time, and they are awesome together. But Trish asks, what do you think of the relationship between Bucky and Loki? It's tense, to say the least. It's exceedingly burdened, and I wonder at times what could have been done to avoid this. Probably Loki could have done without the fangs. That was probably the biggest mistake on his part, was to munch on Bucky when he did the way he did, and then to leave him that way. And just bleeding on the floor. Yeah, that probably could have been avoided. She asked, do you think they'll ever be any more than civil? They just recently agreed to be civil. I don't know. It's tough to say. I have faith in them. I mean, they've gotten this far. There was a point after something had happened, and I tossed in the towel. I gave up on it. It was a lost cause because Loki's not friends with anyone. I was just like, fine, I don't even, whatever. Apparently you don't want to be loved. But yeah, they'll be more than civil someday. It'll probably take time though. Why did I start playing Loki? Again, just because he and I seem to strike a chord. What was my first fandom? I would just say the Marvel fandom. I didn't get that involved in anything else because I had a life, apparently. If there's anything I could change about my muse, what would it be, if anything? Probably how stubborn he is. I would like for him to be significantly less hard-headed and let more people in, because, I mean, people don't go around looking for ways to hurt other people, for the most part anyway. So I would mostly like for him to develop trust in other people. That would be a weight off of my shoulders, because having people waltz up to him and him just snarl at them is exhausting for me. So yeah, I would definitely like for him to be less stubborn. There was one more question, but I don't think I copied and pasted it, so I'm sorry if I missed your question. I sincerely apologize. I'll answer it in the next video if I find it, but I might have deleted it on accident already. So that's the Q&A video. I'll be right back with the love video with I think a list of like 42 usernames for me to love on all of you. So thank you for watching this, and I'll see you again soon.